Welcome to the CANA Connection Podcast. On today's podcast, our hosts Rob Cranston and Jack Murray will be talking with Jay Melamed of XP League, the premier youth esports league in North America. So without further ado, let's join Rob and head into the show.
So welcome everybody to the CANA Connection Podcast. It's pretty exciting. We've got a plank holder leader in the esports gaming community, Jay Melamed, who's the CEO at XP League. Welcome, Jay.
Thanks very much. Excited to get to chat with you guys.
Yeah, man. And like always, we got the great Jack Murray over there, our CANA esports lead, and of course, production and all things, making sure we're synchronized co-beam from CANA. So what we'll do here, Jay, is get a quick introduction, if you don't mind, just talk through your transition and background into the esports world. So why don't you take the floor?
Yeah, sure. So my background is not in gaming or esports. I have a business degree from Keenan Flagler at UNC. I've started and ran a few businesses, sold businesses in the construction building products world. As you know, the pandemic hit, my kids, like everyone else's kids, were at home, and their only form of interaction was the largest social media platform, which is online gaming, communicating, and we saw that there was an opportunity there to create an infrastructure for healthy interactions around this online gaming. And because of COVID and the nature of sports, everything was shut down. Our kids were starving for interaction with other kids. And so we looked at putting together opportunities for kids to be able to be in the same space, 6 feet apart, with masks, not following all the guidelines, but still getting to interact with each other as a team and play against other teams. And so after kind of messing around with that for a few weeks, we realized, man, there's really something here. Had one of those 3 o'clock in the morning pop out of bed. Oh my God, wait, what if we built a structure around this, and we started, getting coaches to become certified in positive coaching, and we start looking at life skills. And I started thinking about my youngest, who at the time was, 8 and had zero interest of ever playing team sports. I was a competitive swimmer in college. My wife was on an equestrian team in college, and those were big parts of our development. And so, I thought, well, this kid will never be on a team because they're just not interested in sports. Well, here's an opportunity. And if we could build this structure around this, what's the difference? The only difference is, instead of kicking a soccer ball around, you have a mouse and keyboard. We can build everything else out to look exactly and feel exactly like conventional youth athletics. Would that work? And so we built a model around it, figured out a way to scale it. And I left my job I was a regional vice president for a very large building products company, publicly traded, that was doing acquisitions with them, and left that to pursue this and build it up. And 2 years and change later, here we are.
What a great background, and then especially this epiphany of creating this space that I know for kids. In competing, there's a distinct, especially at travel level, of player to pro, of this trajectory, right? It's how did you create in that epiphany? How do you create that type of phased, or what would be different levels, if you will?
Yeah. So that's a great question, and actually it really speaks to how we structured XP League. So the first crux of this is, all right, kids want to play against other kids, and they don't want to play the same kids all the time. And that's what, kind of plagues little small esports, community leagues, or if the YMCA starts one, they'll get 4 or 5 teams. The kids will play from home. There's no real dynamic. That's, in high school esports league, kind of the same thing. What makes it exciting and fun is they want to play kids from all over. And so that's why we structured it first off as a franchise, because that was the way that we could get to scale quickest. I thought, all right, if we can get people all over the country, actually all over North America, because we have Canadian locations, who believe in the same vision and have skin invested in the game and want to build this out with, in the same structure, we'll have kids all over and we'll have a breadth of kids. Well, the other side of that coin is the second crux that you hit, which is you've got kids. If we're saying, okay, we want 7 to 14, they're going to be all different skill sets. So what we did was we created a sort of stratosphere of different skill levels. So we had a silver level for kids who were either new or, just getting it or younger. Then we have the gold kids who are the higher, more competitive. Well, in our growth, what we've learned is that there's more tiers to that, right? And so now we have bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. And the way that I describe this is you've got your bronze kids, which is just recreational, which is not even competitive. It's non-competitive. It is kids who can come and play Roblox and Minecraft together, or they can do scavenger hunts in Fortnite, doing things that are not competitive gameplay, because the winning and losing isn't as important as the building an experience of working with other kids and getting to work with a coach. And even if they're just goofing around, they're just getting used to being on a team. So I equate that to 5-year-olds playing YMCA soccer. Right?
Jay, would that be like a rec league kind of?
It's even below that, because they don't compete. It's totally non-competitive. The step up would be your rec league, right? That's our silver. Those are the kids who are learning to compete. Those are the kids who are playing soccer with no goalies yet, right? So kind of getting used to it and working their way up. Then we have the gold, which is our aspirational league. These are the kids who are getting good and are getting competitive and, are playing at a higher tier. And then we have our platinum, which is our elite. That's your travel soccer. That's your AAU. These are the top, 15% of all of our kids at those game titles who, I just found out yesterday that one of our kids is now top 500 in Overwatch 2. Oh, so, geez. These are some really high playing kids. Yeah. And we've got kids who are in Valorant who are high level Immortal. I don't know that we've got any Radiant yet, but these are pretty impressive kids.
Gosh, that's great. So Jay, with that, what's the distribution of just number wise of kids in each of those bands, if you will?
I'm embarrassed to not know the answer off the top of my head. Gotcha. I would say it's probably 15%, maybe at the platinum, and then sort of even distribution between silver and gold, and bronze is probably 10%.
Gotcha.
Because it's a newer program.
And so equatable to cost. So in membership or in part of that, it's much, much less cost, correct? From a traditional travel soccer, if you will, or travel sport to esports. Is that?
Yeah. It's possibly, it varies some of our locations. So on average, it's a monthly membership that the kids will join. And our program is set up in such where you don't have to join for a season. You can join at any time and start working your way onto the team. And if it's mid-season, then you'll be on a practice team, and then you'll roll into a team when the next season starts. So you'll be doing scrimmages and things like that and kind of practicing with the coach. And we have curriculum that the kids go through on different game titles, but then also just on all different aspects of esports in general, and gaming development, and skill development that kind of applies to everything. So you could see that ranging anywhere from $99 a month to $160 a month, depending on which where you live in the world. We have locations that have completely different demographics. So cost of living is different, and sure, expenses are different. Our platinum level kids are, that's a higher tier. They meet more often. They have more practices. They have more scrimmages. They have more matches. So, obviously more coach time. So that's a little bit more expensive per month. And, so that's sort of the distribution of what that looks like.
Gotcha. But
No
I'm going to pass
worries.
it over to Jack Murray for some questions here, Jay, and then we'll get back. I have a couple more follow-up. Over to Jack.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. So first off, I want to go back to the whole kind of reasoning for creating XP League was just an anecdotal experience. I know kids do just want to get together to play these games. A lot of people think that, oh, it's they can play at home. Why don't they always just want to play at home? But, back in the early days of video games and esports, everybody was, bringing their Xboxes over to each other's house to play together. And that's kind of exactly what the XP League is bringing at a, structured level, which is just amazing to see. And with that, there's a lot of questions about, scholastic esports programs and academics playing into any of this. And we just want to know, what is the connection the XP League has with these scholastic esports programs building up, or academics of any sorts, if there is any?
Sure. So there's no direct. I mean, I like to say that we're non-scholastic, in the same way that travel soccer is non-scholastic. We do have a great relationship with both High School Esports League, their parent company, Generation Esports. We have a great relationship with NASIF, and so some of our kids might play on both. I mean, and that's totally possible and would make sense, especially the higher level kids, because we offer a different program than high school esports, just in general, not necessarily that business model, but just in overall speaking, high school and any academic or scholastic esports program. The structures are really, really different. This is something where the parents are committing their kids to doing it and they're paying for it. So they take it a little bit differently. Something that is really challenging both in high school or scholastic esports and then in collegiate esports are like forfeitures. That's a huge issue. We don't have very much of that because parents are paying for their kids to show up, so they generally show up. And also we're, if a kid can't make it, we do what we can to try to modify our schedules, or we have some backups. And I apologize for whatever that ringing was in the background. So yeah, that's kind of how we live in that space, but we do still work with schools in a lot of markets. I know one of our locations in California actually runs programming at a private school. We have another location that at one point was doing a lot of work with the Catholic diocese in their area and creating a Rocket League, like closed league tournament for them and doing some things. So there's a lot of opportunity for our owners to engage with schools and academic programs, even though we're not specifically scholastic, if that makes
Yeah, and
sense.
I think, that makes perfect sense. And it's important to know, even though you're not directly tied with these programs, it's just going through these, structured esports leagues and having coaches teaching them all about the games and all the new metas coming out and everything like that really teaches them, the life skills that I know you guys are preaching daily on a daily basis with, teamwork, leadership, anything like that. It's just all still built into this system, even though it's not tied to this classic esports level. So that's also something great about XP League that really stood out to us as well. But all this kind of comes back to, the pathway to pro in esports right now is very fragmented and, yet to be completely defined. And with the XP League being at, the base of this pathway, what are you seeing as some of the largest barriers or obstacles facing these youth players and their pathway to pro?
So I think you kind of answered the question in the question. It's really, really fragmented, and figuring out like what are the right ways to navigate this. So we've partnered up with some great organizations. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with COPE, which is the Coalition for Parents in Esports. It's a really good organization. Shay and Chris Spikoski, excuse me, amazing people. We do a lot of work with them. We partner with them, really frequently. Actually, somebody on their board just bought a franchise in South Florida, and is, her son is actually a pro content creator and was a former competitive pro Fortnite player. But they have a really good understanding of what the interworkings of taking these young 15, 16, 17-year-old kids and presenting them with contracts and working with agents and what all that like means and what it looks like. So we want to have those resources for our kids. The truth is, in my mind, our objective is not to create all the pros of tomorrow, right? That's not what XP League is here for. Don't get me wrong. If we have kids who go pro, that's awesome. And in fact, we have kids who have signed. I mean, I was recently presenting our deck to a group of potential franchisees, and I was talking about the things that I have in my 1 to 3 year goals and visions, and one of them was to get some kids to grow pro, and I have to update that slide because we've had kids who have signed pro orgs. We have some kids who are phenomenal Rocket League players and have moved on and signed contracts. They actually came in second place at DreamHack Atlanta and won some money for that. Nice. We've got, I was just talking to a player who contacted me and said, "Hey, can I stay in XP League even though I just signed a professional contract to play Valorant?" And I said, "Well, let's look at your contract because I don't want to upset anyone. But yeah, I mean, it's cool with us." So, the path is there. The way that I see our building where XP League lives in that infrastructure, where we are in that kind of chain, is I'm building relationships with pro teams and pro orgs. We just signed an agreement with, we have an agreement with Ghost Gaming that hasn't really been formally announced, but there'll be some press releases and things about it in January. We have an agreement with Parabellum Esports, which is a really great program out of Canada, but they've got they have content creators, they have several different teams, and they're building out an academy, and we're working with them very closely on their academy. We're going to have boot camps. We're going to have educational programs. So there's a lot of interaction that's going to happen there. And we have an agreement with Dark Zero where some of our kids are going to play on an XP League Dark Zero team and wear XP League Dark Zero jerseys. And so we're building out all these pieces. One, to help connect the pro orgs to these kids to build fandom and to build community and connections, like real connections, meaningful connections. And then also now these orgs have an awareness of who we are and can start looking at our gameplay and learning about our kids. But, not to keep going off on a tangent on this, but what's more important to me than path to pro is path to collegiate. When we started playing, when I started this company, and I remember my first pitch deck, I had a slide that showed every school that offered scholarship money for esports programs, and I think it was like 25 or 30 schools. I recently spoke to someone in the academic world who was esports that is involved with one of the top 3 leagues. So that number is around like 260 now. It's unreal. So I want every kid that's in XP League who wants to go to college and wants to play esports in college to be able to reach out and speak to those directors and those coaches and say, "Hey, I played on an XP League Gold team or an XP League Platinum team," and that coach or director to know exactly what that means and to say, like, "I want this kid on my team because I know they've been coached. I know they know how to be a teammate. I know that they know how to play, competitively and take it seriously." Because that's one of the biggest things that we hear from college coaches and directors of esports at universities is it's always the same thing. You hear 2 things. One, we have issues with forfeitures, and 2 is these kids have never been on a team before and they don't know how to be on a team. And so half of the time is getting them acclimated to like being on a team. So anyway, that's my vision for kind of how we fit into that structure.
No, yeah, that was an amazing response, because what we're getting from that is basically it's really starting to build the foundation of where these kids start. And Pathway to Pro, that's something we're looking into as well. Pathway to Pro doesn't necessarily have to be just pro. It could be Pathway to Success, and that's kind of what you were talking about with going to college and getting a scholarship for it. a lot of these kids starting off from who we talked to and what we found is that they really don't know the opportunities out there for them. And XP League, it seems like, is doing a great job of building that foundational piece where they can start, build those relationships and see where it goes from there. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. And part of that, as a data company and, growing that pathway to success, you need data. So we wanted to know just from you, are there any specific types of data that you believe, are the most important in supporting the growth and sustainability of youth esports? Like, is it gameplay data, demographic data of who's playing, or personal progression data? Anything like that that you believe
Yeah.
would help?
I think personal progression data, gameplay data. I mean, those are tremendous tools, not only for the individual, but for the coach. So if you have coaches who are working with those kids and they can actually start seeing data on their progression, I think that's an unbelievably useful tool. The other thing too is we're starting to create an opportunity for our players who are 13 and over to start storing some of their portfolio so that if they do projects for their team, let's say the coach assigns them gameplay footage to watch and like come up with a strategy, we want to start helping them create portfolios on the things that they've done while at XP League, so that when they're applying to colleges or applying to teams, or if they're talking to a pro coach or a pro recruiter, they have this portfolio of things that they've done that's more than just their rank or more than just their KD or whatever. But again, having data on their gameplay and data on their progression as a player, both in taking, like, I don't know if they're into aim lab or kovacs or whatever, and some sort of assortment of and kind of pulling all those things together. I mean, I would see that being tremendously useful for collegiate teams and for pro orgs to evaluate who these kids are and what they're doing.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect. And what we've seen is that a lot of this data in the esports industry really isn't. It's either not even being collected or is very hard to access, and that's something that's trying to be changed in the industry right now, is access to this data, and that's something
For
that,
sure.
like you just said, could tremendously help. But
Oh yeah.
going back to a little bit of what we talked about before, I know you've mentioned it a couple times throughout, but overall, as the XP leagues, what is the main or ultimate goal or measurement of success for the youth who compete in this league? You said there's multiple levels, so there may not be one, but kickstart their professional career. You mentioned it's more for college as well. But is there one thing that everybody who joins XP League, your measurement of success for them when they leave?
Yeah, that they had a really good time and that they're leaving a better kid than when they came in, and have developed some sort of useful skill set, whether that's become more resilient about losing, or made a lifelong friend. I mean, those are how I measure success, and those are things that I think are most important. And it's funny, I had a conversation with one of our coaches from a location yesterday who was talking to me about the importance of success for each kid, and so I wanted him to define where he saw what was success. And so it was great because he was on board with the way that I look at it, is each kid has their individual like needs and success, and and that's either personal growth and development, it's game development, it's collegiate, it's aspirations of pro, it's content creation, it's sometimes it's just a kid who needs to get out of their shell. And we've seen these things. And so it's like, it's really exciting and unbelievably, one of the things that I love about what I do is how rewarding it is to interact in this space with these kids. Because unlike traditional sports, which have really great stories, I mean, there are amazing stories in sports. We have a lot of those stories, and we get to be a part of them all the time. And, we have kids who are immunocompromised and haven't, been in the same room with another kid for 3 years, who are playing on a team and competing at really high levels and having a blast. And it's like, it is making a tremendous difference on their quality of life. We have kids who, have physical differences where they may be wheelchair bound and would never play on a standard sports team, but now are playing on a team, and it's not a special team. Not that there's anything wrong with Special Olympics, things like that. I think that's amazing, but in this, it allows them to be on a team with kids that they would normally look at as not someone that would be in their teammate. And so it gets to level that playing field. And so we have those kind of impacts. And then, we have those kids who just have these opportunities because, gaming sometimes are kids who don't like to play sports and maybe are shy, or maybe, there's, the stereotypical gamer kids who are, tend to be a little on the nerdy side, or, a little geeky, but those are awesome traits, and we love it and we embrace it. And we pull them out. Like we get to pull out these leadership skills from them. We let them come into their own and develop. And so, it's super rewarding just to see those things happening all the time. And that's like the greatest measure of success for me.
Oh, Jay, that is like crazy passion and just purpose. We love that. I mean, that's what a great energy that is. And again, back to creating this environment that's safe, that can grow in a place that has a lot of skill sets that, man, you talk about the STEM skill sets and just beyond that can apply to so many different parts of, an emerging economy that we've got in the IT.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, actually, I was going to mention this too. Sometimes the kids that, their measure of success isn't even in gaming. Right. We find out that they want to be a shoutcaster or a content creator. And so we take this kid, we have a young lady who is, when she started with us, was unbelievably shy. And, really like just very quiet. And now she is a shoutcaster for Overwatch matches, every weekend. So she is the only person on mic, cool, calling plays, on camera and, on mic on Twitch every week. And if you would have told me that she was going to be doing this when I met her a year and a half ago, I would have said, you don't have the right kid. We're not talking about the same kid.
Cool. And I know that with highlighting and showcasing those type of examples is going to be so important for the continued success and in not just your league, but the growth of this space we're both in esports. And that get just one quick, just when you talked earlier about how the kids are in I say kids, but different types of training level. So the world of being able to look at your information in a training environment with a team and the analytics that's built inside of that and this is where kind of the intelligent analytics piece. Have you baked in, what's repeatable, what works? I mean, so where does that fit inside the XP League's profile?
That's a really good question. And so we're still learning. I mean, we're still young. And so the things that it's the way you phrase that is perfect, because as a franchise, we want to make sure our French fries taste the same in every market. And our French fries is the esports experience, right? It's the experience that the parents have with XP League. It's the experience that the players have. It's the experience that the coaches have. And so the things that we've started to do to standardize that and to look at as indicators of whether or not we're hitting and where those best practices are, we've created a coaching certification program. We started with the Positive Coaching Alliance. We've kept on with that. It's a great program, but we've enhanced and created a custom certification program that we partnered with Next Level Esports, which is a coaching certification program in the EU, where he's been around for a while, certifying coaches that are pro coaches, collegiate coaches, and a lot of them are coach for hire certifications, and developed his program with our director of education to build it specifically for the age group and the positive, the good luck, have fun mentality that we build into our culture. And so that's been really great. We also, have this platform called Power Lab that the kids work in, where, it's sort of this self-paced, online, it'll be a series of like modules and videos that they'll watch before practice, and then have drills that they can do. And it helps standardize, the programming for our coaches to a certain extent. But anyway, if there was a way to, if we, we don't have the tools to look at, all right, when we have each kid do 25 minutes of AIM Lab, they changed their name, AIM Labs. I'm so used to saying AIM Lab because you see it, there was jokes about it, you saying it wrong because AIM Labs, but now it's AIM Labs. So anyway, having kids do that for a certain period of time, if there was a way to like a data point that said, all right, every kid does 25 minutes of this, their performance will, you'll see this type of growth over time, or any of those little analytic data points, that would be really cool to deploy throughout our organization. Unfortunately, we're still learning, and certainly not, we're not that sophisticated yet. It's all anecdotal at this time.
Well, I know probably further discussion of being able to work through some of that sophistication with the CANA Intelligent Analytics platform. We'd love to share that information and just build and be part of this ecosystem with what you've built. And so if I know with our folks out there that in our network and those that watch the CANA Connection, a lot of folks would be interested probably in a franchise. So how do they go about it, Jay?
Franchise.xpleague.com is our franchise specific website. We have franchise recruiters, since we're a part of a company called Unleash Brands. I'm the founder of XP League, started it, bootstrapped it. Like all startups and organizations, we needed that one great thing that everybody else needs, which is fuel for our fire and a solid foundation. And so we were really lucky, and we're able to partner and be brought into the Unleashed family of brands. And Unleashed is a first of its kind platform brand for youth enrichment. So, if you look at like Neighborly, what they do for home care, Unleash Brands is building for youth enrichment. So they own Snapology, which is a kids STEM program. They own the Little Gym, which is kids gymnastics, up to like, I think as young as like 3 months old. They also recently purchased Class 101, which is a college preparatory platform, and there's a martial arts group. There's all sorts of great companies in this. And so one of the things that helps us is they are experts in the franchise building and the business growing world, which allows us to really focus on what's important, which is our program and the impact that we have on our users. So if people listening are interested in this as a franchise opportunity and building it out, we would get them in touch with our franchise recruiters to see if it's, if this is a good fit for them, if they're a good fit for us, because that's really important, and go through that recruiting process. But we are actively looking for new owners in just about every major MSA in North America. We want to grow this. We've grown 12 new locations in the last 3 months. Next year, we want to do 100 new locations. So
I love it. Love the scale.
Give us a call.
Yeah, no joke. Everybody out there, call Jay. Jay, what a pleasure to have you on. This has been fantastic. What a passionate, and again, back to what you're doing is having so much purpose. And, we look forward to pacing with you and having you back on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. No, I loved it. Thanks so much.
A big thanks goes out to Jay Melamed for joining us on the CANA Connection podcast. If you'd like to learn more about the XP League, you can head over to their website at www.xpleague.com. If you're interested in the franchising opportunities, you can also hit up their franchising website at xpleaguefranchise.com. That is all for today. This is Koa Beam signing off for Rob Cranston and Jack Murray and the rest of the CANA Connection podcast crew. If you'd like to hear more podcasts, you can find us on all of the popular podcast streaming platforms. So until next time, remember, analyze, assess, and execute, and we'll catch you later.